You're a capable leader. You've done the training. You care about your team. You care about your audience. So why don't they seem to listen to you? It's a big challenge, but there is a fix, and that's exactly what I'll be unpacking in this session. Right now, trust in leadership across the board is in pretty dire straits. We see this borne out in trust research from around the globe. People just don't know who to believe. They are overwhelmed. They're simply trying to pay their household bills. They get conflicting stories. There's fake news everywhere, as we know, and that spills over into workplaces and organisations. Now, the trust research tells us that actually we trust our own leaders more than we trust global leaders, but even saying that, we've got to work super hard to reclaim and rebuild people's trust, especially under pressure when people don't want to hear the message. Now, I've worked with leaders in some of the most serious situations, major public scandals, boardroom blow-ups. I've even been an announcer at the Olympics. And what I've noticed is that the leaders who survive and thrive are the ones who can adapt their approach in high-stakes pressure situations. So I want to share with you 3 takeaways, and these are fairly broad brush to give you the principles, and I'm going to dive down further into these in future sessions, so make sure you stick around and tune in for those. The first one is what I call authentic clarity, and those 2 words need to go together. These days, with people under so much stress and anxiety, they are really looking for clarity. They want clear information. Even if the news is bad, even if you're telling them about a decision that didn't go their way, even if it's unwelcome news, they want you to be clear. But it's not just about clarity. As a leader, you need to be embodying authentic clarity. So you're keeping it real. You're not glossing up the good stuff and playing down the bad stuff. It's not enough just to tell the truth. You've got to be transparent in the way you tell the truth. It's not partial truth. And this comes with telling it warts and all. If you've got to convey some news, play it with a straight bat. Make it really clear what is fact and what is opinion, because the reality is at the moment, it's really hard for people to tell the difference. If you're a leader who stands for authentic clarity, you're already well down the road towards reclaiming trust. The second takeaway and leadership behaviour I'd love you to think about is having a consistent cadence in your communication. You know, what I see is a lot of leaders who something dramatic happens in the organisation and they communicate a lot about it, and then they go back into silence and people just don't hear from them again until there's the next problem. That's not the way to build trust. That actually generates suspicion. As you know, people will just fill in the gaps themselves. It's about consistency of communication. Now, I know sometimes you'll feel like you just have nothing to say to your teams or your external audience. Communicate with them anyway. We need these consistent touch points, especially now when people are really feeling the heat, really feeling the pressure. Be the one who's the trustworthy anchor, who is there, who is consistent and gives a degree of certainty. It's a very uncertain world, isn't it? And you know, you might be thinking, well, how much certainty can I give? I don't have the answers either. But you can at least give the next piece of certainty. If there's a decision that's affecting people, what's the very next thing they need to know? You don't have to have the full staircase illuminated. You can just shine a little torch on the very next step. That's going to be doing a huge service. So do that consistently in a cadence of communication so people look to you and know what to expect. That's huge for building trust. And the third factor is for you to be what I call a trust torchbearer. It's not enough just to quietly build trust in the background. You've actually got to be a champion of it. And again, what I notice with a lot of leaders is they understand how important it is that people in their teams trust each other and that their brand is trusted in the wider world. But it's like they expect the trust just to happen organically. Yeah, that's one way to build trust, but it's slow and unpredictable. your behaviour can influence the speed of trust, the way people interact, if you're showing up consistently and making trust building part of the DNA of your team and your broader brand if you can influence that. So those 3 steps can make a profound difference. Having authentic clarity every time you communicate, having a consistent cadence of communication, and being a torchbearer for trust. And just thinking about some of the organisations I've worked with, one early childhood education organisation was really having a battle with breakdown in relationships between some of the childcare workers and the parents of the children in their centres. It's such a challenging sector at the moment. We really worked on the way they approached communication, building trust, making sure that their staff, and that their staff came from many different cultures and very, very diverse, but we worked on making sure they were doing everything that they could to communicate with credibility and influence. And you know, in a relatively short time, that situation turned around. From getting a lot of complaints from parents and families, that organisation actually went to getting compliments. And it was just wonderful to see some of the emails and messages that parents had sent in because they were noticing a subtle change in the behaviour of the staff. That was pretty amazing. Another organisation that had quite a large team in one of their departments where the culture had broken down. It was a relatively new team. They really hadn't taken the time to get to know each other. And some of the work we did about influence, credibility, building trust made a huge difference to that team. And they are on a mission now. The energy in that group is quite phenomenal. And I know they are going to go on to do huge things. And it all started with being willing to actively build trust. So if you feel that you and perhaps other leaders in your organisation are struggling to connect with their teams, it's a battle to get the message through, the culture is one of distrust and suspicion, I'd love to have a chat. I've got a great keynote, Trust Under Pressure, can also be extended into a workshop. Let's have a chat about bringing that into your organisation. You can head to my website for more info, neryleast.com. You can email me directly at neryl@neryleast.com. And don't forget to like, subscribe to this channel, tell others if they want to learn more about trust and credibility. More videos heading your way soon.